Hello my little learners, you can call me Lovegood and I hope you enjoy this video. Here are just a few things before we get started. Today I'm presenting you with chapter 13 of Ghostly Bonds titled Werewolf Heart by Dead Man's Bones by KittyKqt 3. But anyways, thank you for tuning in to listen to me, but that's enough of my rambles and jambles and let's get right into the fic. This is the summary. Summary. Infiltration. Let's get right into the fic. Izuku yawned as he went over the information he already knew. Shigaraki was watching news reports on loop, the sports festival and the hero killer incidents. Izuku had grown bored of them a while ago, instead focusing on Kurogiri across the room. Now, his quirk was an interesting one that Izuku would love to test, see how it would merge with his own. The ability to warp others when he fast travelled. It was tempting. But he couldn't risk taking more quirks than he could handle. Not when he didn't know how it would affect him or others if used, and Nezu would have to know about it. He glanced over at the window that was slightly cracked, watching the sun set the last final bit. His break had gained him some more energy back to the point that he was confident he could travel without losing time. He pulled up his bonds, gripping Eraserheads tightly. He'd be back for Shigaraki before he could hurt anyone. He ripped himself forward, turning to place where he was. "Keep your ass on the floor," Eraserhead said, kicking the man as he tried to stand up. It had been a while since Izuku had helped him out, but the familiar rush of this work made him smile slightly. But this wasn't what he needed. He put a hand to his throat, pushing the energy up through his throat in a constant stream, reaching for Present Mike's quirk. "I'm back," he said, the words still quiet in manner to him. Eraserhead spun around, gripping his capture weapon as the villain looked around frantically as well. "Who the hell is that?" he asked, and Eraserhead sighed, bending down and pressing a syringe into the man's arm. "Not while I'm working with villains, Ghost," he said gently, standing up and putting the used syringe in a bag. "I assume you would like to get back to Nezu?" "Yes," Izuku said simply, before letting the quirk fall again. It was work bringing it up and down, but it was slightly better than before. Eraserhead winced slightly, looking at the man on the floor. "Can you speak any quieter?" he asked, shaking his head. Izuku frowned, confused. He didn't sound loud. "Anyways, an officer is on the way for this one. I can't leave him." Izuku shook his head, upset. Why would this matter when everyone could be in danger in Hosu? But he couldn't explain it all now, not with his energy levels. "Ida, trouble," he said, before dropping it again. Eraserhead winced, looking up at him, his eyebrows furrowed. "Shit, kid." He rooted around in his pockets, pulling out a pair of simple handcuffs. "Let's go." He attached the man to a nearby pipe before looking back at where Izuku stood. "Follow." He loosed his capture weapon, wrapping it around the upper part of the pipe, pulling himself up and onto the roofs. Izuku had no trouble keeping pace with him, just floating alongside him as he leaped over buildings. He also just floated through anything on the roofs as Eraserhead had to avoid it. He was glad he couldn't feel that same rush from the night his life had started. The rush of wind and the cool escape of night, but he still missed that chill, that freedom. Night walks with Mom on the beach, playing with the Kachan in the woods before dinner, even doing homework with his window cracked. They arrived at UA quickly, Eraserhead scanning his ID on the back entrance, cracking the door open and holding it there. Izuku had already phased through the wall, watching as Eraserhead stuttered before shutting the door. "You in?" Izuku didn't feel like wasting more energy, so he just phased a hand through Eraserhead, who backed away shivering. Don't do that." Izuku shrugged, floating towards the school as Eraserhead followed. "I'm assuming you're coming?" Izuku hesitated. He needed to speak to Nezu. Alone. Nezu was the only one who was smart enough to understand everything that might happen, and Eraserhead would try and stop him if he deemed it dangerous. He sped ahead, through the walls and floors, leaving Eraserhead behind. He slammed through the floor, spotting Nezu at his desk, watching the cameras on Eraserhead as he worked on some papers. Izuku locked the door, the rat looking over at the loud click. "Ghost! What a pleasure!" Izuku didn't have time for pleasantries. He pressed his hand to his throat, pushing present Mike's quirk up. Hosu, attack, soon. Hosu, attack, soon. He pulled his hand away, dropping the quirk before he could drain too much energy. Nezu nodded, jumping down from his chair. Very well, I will keep my eye out. I need you to find out more. He paused, hesitating in front of the door right beside Izuku. Any way possible, even if it means exposing yourself. Izuku faltered, staring at the principal. He couldn't be serious. I ask that you don't attach a bond to me, but I need information before the attacks, so if you must join the league, you will do that. Someone banged on the door, and Izuku jumped as Nezu unlocked it, his frown turning into a jolly smile. Welcome, Shota, he said, stepping back from the door. Ghost needs to speak to you, he said, glancing behind him into empty space. Yuda's in danger. Yes, Nezu nodded with a grin. I've been informed. Nezu looked taken aback, scanning the room. You will forbid any internships in Hosu, including Ida's with Manuel. Eraserhead nodded uncertainly, not stepping aside. What about Ghost? He asked, suspicion in his voice. Nezu chuckled slightly. Well, that is between me and my new mentee, isn't it? Eraserhead's face went ghost white as he stared at Nezu. Please tell me you're kidding, he said sternly, his voice shaking ever so slightly. Izuku didn't know whether to agree with him or not. Nezu only chuckled again, doing a shooing motion with his hand. Be prepared for an attack on Hosu soon. More information will be given when it is acquired. Eraserhead shook his head, taking a step into the room. It is too dangerous to keep sending him back, Nezu. You know this as well as I do. Nezu simply grinned, sitting back at his desk. Don't you have school tomorrow? Eraserhead's face twisted in a mix of emotions before settling as he nodded. He stepped back out the room without another word, shutting the door behind him, leaving Izuku with Nezu. He knew the principal was right. He didn't like the rat, didn't like how he used his smarts. But that was the thing. He was smart. He could understand Izuku's rambling about quirks, could figure out methods and ways to combat the League. He was what Izuku needed to learn from. And if he had to get him information in order to be a hero, he would do just that. He had given his life to be a hero, and he wasn't going to let some stupid fear of getting hurt stop him. How do I gain their trust? Izuku asked, putting his hand to his throat again, this time itching the stupid itch that kept growing. Nezu nodded with a grin. You will be a great hero. Okay, my little learners, that's going to be the end of this part. This was originally half an hour long, this chapter. It was so much longer than I thought it was going to be. And I only really realised after I concluded recording how long it was. So that's why it took me a while to even start editing. So this one will be split into 3 parts. This one, which is around 7-8 minutes. Then 2 more. One which is 15, and the next part which will be 10. So the next part will be about 10-12 minutes, and then after that will be 15. Because this might not be the longest chapter yet, but it's definitely near the top. And I was not prepared for that. I should have counted the word count first, but I didn't. I did make that mistake. But, so yeah. The next part will be out next Tuesday, and then after that. So, sorry this chapter took way too long to come out, but I was procrastinating starting editing because of how long it was. So, but yeah, I did find good splitting points, like points where I can split the chapter. So yeah, I also have a one-shot to edit that I also filmed way too long ago. But that should also be out soon. Either next Thursday or the Thursday after. Don't quote me on that, but around then, whenever I have time to edit. Or, well, motivation, I guess. So, my little learners, this is a little reminder that you might have something to do or check. I hope you will have a fantastic time, wherever and whenever you may be. Day, night, dusk, dawn, no tide, high tide, whatever it is for you. You can call me Lovegood, and that was the first part of Chapter 13 of Ghostly Bonds by KittyKqt on AO3. Again, the link to this fic will be in the pinned comment by me on this video, and tags are in the description as well as warnings. Bye, little learners. Wait, am I supposed to do it loud? I'm gonna do that entire section again. Sorry, future editor me. Shit, kid. Nope, I hate that.